Oh, hey, sorry. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Tuesday evening. I've made a grave error and pushed the wrong button. And but tonight is the traditional perspective on the 12 steps. So, welcome, Tony. Thank you
Thank you.
for being part of this. And please excuse my lack of video. I'm doing this from my iPad.
No problem.
So,
Thanks, Ryan.
yeah, so everybody, we're broadcasting on all of the public channels as per usual. The MyRehab helper Facebook profile, the ARC or the MyRehab Facebook page, and the duly diagnosed YouTube channel. Those are the public channels, so anybody can view them, can view this video. If you want to participate, please click on the link. It has been posted in the comments. We're also broadcasting on the MyRehab Cafe private and unsearchable Facebook group. So if you are on that group and you want a higher degree of anonymity, please wait until we switch over exclusively to that group 10 to 15 minutes into the broadcast. And yeah, you can hop on at that point. Otherwise, if anybody just has a comment you want to post, please post it. We can bring it up on the screen. If you want to find out more about joining the MyRehab Cafe, send me a message. My number will come up on the screen. And then that's it. I think with that, Tony, I'm going to hand it over to you. Hey.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Ryan. So, tonight what I was hoping to really explore is the idea of how the 12 steps is a process and an opportunity to take personal responsibility for our lives. And again, when I speak of addictive behaviors as we proceed through the evening, please remember that it's any form of addictive behavior, from substances to process addictions, which could include codependency, gaming, gambling, porn, sex. It doesn't really matter. It's really the concept of addictive behaviors and how they show up in our lives. And really, when a lot of the work that I do with my clients is about helping them intellectually understand the process, but it really isn't enough to create a sense of long-term recovery, not just about sobriety, but long-term recovery. And so very much we explore what behavior changes need to occur in order to have the benefit of long-term sobriety and recovery and what that might mean. So, if we reverse engineer this and think, okay, so if I need to take responsibility, it's because I'm not taking responsibility. So that's really a lot of the time when my clients are seeking help, it's because they've been in a very destructive cycle or pattern with their addictive behaviors. And one of the ways that we can identify this is when people are very much stuck in a destructive cycle but can't break out. And logic and reason would say, my gosh, I recognize this is bad for me. How come I'm still doing it? There's definitely, that would lend itself to addictive behaviors where there's loss of control. And so people will say to me, I'm not a stupid person. Why do I keep doing this? How do I keep doing this? Why am I able to convince myself that it's not a problem? And a lot of the times we unpack and we look at what are different types of defensive mechanisms that I use. And I know that there are other podcasts specifically about defense mechanisms, so you can certainly go and look them up. And please do. I think it's always valuable to gain a deeper insight and understanding of how it is that addictive behaviors continue.
Can I ask you a quick question on that? So you talk about being stuck in a self-destructive loop, and not being able to get out of that, right? And not being able to
Yes.
almost like rationalize it,
Yes.
or knowing exactly what the consequences are and all the rest of it, and making commitments, but then repeatedly breaking those commitments to yourself and to others, right?
Sure.
So on that note, obviously that's in my mind where shows these how important and significant an inpatient intervention is, right? Having
Absolutely.
said that, and so we can never discount that. I mean, that's just like first prize always, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
But
Yeah, absolutely.
But are there sort of mechanisms that you can use to treat a patient that sort of maybe doesn't want to go into inpatient, or is okay, and that are effective, obviously?
Yes. Look, Ryan, I think what's really important is that, for me, the opportunity to go into inpatient care is an absolute luxury that a lot of people can't afford either through physically not being able to afford to go financially, or they can't because they're single parents, or they just can't not be at work, or whatever it is. There's many factors that prevent people from being able to access the resource of inpatient care. But for me, it absolutely is first prize if it's available.
I just want to jump in there quickly on that note. So yes, a lot of people genuinely don't have, I agree, in a lot of ways it is a luxury. A lot of people genuinely don't have the time or the money or can't afford the time off of work. I had a meeting with a guy a couple of weeks ago, and his excuse was that he didn't want to leave his little dog that he inherited from his previous relationship from his ex-girlfriend, and his little dog would die without him. Okay, which is obviously not the truth, right? So that's also we've also got to be careful about
excuses,
about allowing people to kind of it's got to be a genuine kind of like legitimate.
Of course.
Of
course, absolutely. And I think it's very easy to find reasons not to go. I was actually chatting with someone on Saturday morning, who phoned me desperate for help. And then, she's got a young daughter, and, her whole thing was, oh my God, I can't be away from her. I can't. We worked with that, and her fear and anxiety is very real. However, we spoke of, what happens if you don't go? What are the consequences if you continue to use? What is the reality for this little girl if her mom is a using addict? What is that? What does that mean? And so to be away from home for a period of a month odd, with visiting on weekends or whenever, to allow her a lifetime of access to a mother who's healthy at present, suddenly it didn't seem so critical as a reason not to enter. So it's very important to work with people around their fears and concerns, because for one person, it might not even be an issue, the dog, whereas for somebody else, there's so much fear and terror. And I mean, how is that for projection around, I will die without the dog? It's, some form of connection to someone else, or some form of it gives me meaning to get up in the day, whatever it might be. The dog will die without me, but what about, how are you going to be without the dog? But it is important, absolutely, to work with those comments and to sift through those which are genuine. I can't ask work for leave, or, if you don't ask work, you're going to get fired. So this is inevitable in terms of consequences. So it's to work with those.
And you know what, Tony, I must be very honest with you. I think to somebody that's untrained, okay, hearing the excuse, oh, my little dog is going to die without me, it could be easy to, like, for the untrained sort of person to scoff at that and be like, hey, that's such an absurd, ridiculous excuse, right?
Sure.
But I know, obviously, what I did see with this person that was telling me this, it was like he was very, very convinced, that his little dog would die without him. He was very convinced.
It's real.
So from your point of view, I mean, obviously that's something that might be very challenging as well. It
is, Ryan, and it's. I think when we work in this field, and I'm sure you've experienced it, we have to anticipate objections. We're coming up against addiction. We're coming up against, there's always going to be ambivalence. I mean, that needs to be a given, not a surprise. People who want to get help are terrified. They don't want to change their environment. They don't want to lose friends. They don't want to really have to go through a difficult process, but they know they can't continue as they are. So we work with that ambivalence, and we potentially, what's really helpful, and I'm glad you raised the concept of finding professionals who understand addictive behaviors, because it's also easy to just say, oh, and believe the client, well, you can't, of course you can't go because you're worried about your daughter. Don't worry, you can stay at home. So it works both ways, but we need to almost raise potential objections. What about your daughter? What about your pets? Who's going to take care of them? What are you going to do about work? How can we create a sense of, containing these different areas within people's lives when they're considering treatment, so that there's a feeling of it. I don't have to panic about work because it's one phone call. And she started saying to me, oh my God, I've got hundreds of calls I need to make and all these people I need to tell. And, I was just sitting there watching her become more and more panicked. And we distilled it to one conversation and 2 phone calls. It was a phone call to a rehab. It was a conversation with her husband, and it was a phone call to her boss. Everyone else he could take care of, and she could get support in communicating. She just needed to get in. And so in just going through each item as well, it just helped to gain clarity of the urgency, and the panic wasn't actually real. It was just what she was creating as a response to the idea of actually going into treatment.
Yeah. So I'm going to go over to the private group. If you'll give me a
Perfect.
minute to
Beautiful.
switch over. Let me find the, where is it? It's Tuesday. There it is. No. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'll see you on the other side. Thanks to everybody that watched on the public channels. Cool. If you want to participate in the MyRehab Cafe, please go to www.myrehabcafe.com or myrehab.com or send me a WhatsApp message. My number is on the screen. Thanks, guys. Cool.